everyone. I'm representing the Upper Vision company, and we are going to go to this journey of ours on creating a SIEM product. We're going to share our experience of what challenges we were facing and how we're trying to overcome those challenges. And also, let's part in a small survey. Well, the idea is that any feedback is what is helping our product to get better. Hitting the SIEM market was basically a very bold idea, a very challenging idea. But as you know, there are a lot of big fish, big whales on the market. It's difficult to compete with them. But we've done that. We're not sorry about that, and we are developing our product. Now, I want to cite a research of 2022 too. It was enabled us to build a pipeline of development, and we're trying to stick to it. Well, anyway, today we would like to do yet another research, and to this end, I would like you to take a part in a small poll. It will be an anonymous group in Telegram. Only 4 questions, and let's try to answer them. So, if you can, please get this hashtag, get this QR code, and let's see how we can answer these questions and how we can see if this is relevant for you. Probably we do not that many of you guys who are using the SIEM system, but maybe you're planning to use SIEM systems, and yet for some of you it'll be a chance to think about what potential challenges you may be facing in the future, and is that even relevant for you? Okay, the question number 1: what challenges you are facing when collecting events? It's quite a global topic whenever we speak about SIEM systems, and also log management. Organizing data collection is always a pain, always like sweat, and it's never easy. Now you should get this survey outcome. Please, let's vote on the screens of your phone, and I'm giving you multiple questions. Number 1, it's difficult to connect new sources. It's something that we're witnessing and seeing as a vendor. Whenever people come and say that, hey, we have like a certain cloud of data, you are collecting data from the syslog. There are some kind of homemade systems, and how can we collect this, and where do we start? Basically, this would be like a top 1 priority and questions. The second point is it is not the settings of processing are not very visual. Whenever you do the collections of events, it's not only the source and the normalization. You have to add aggregation and filtration and probably segmentation for a certain feature. And the system should have these tools, like from the hood, from under the hood, and natively should give you options of how to build this stream. Third option is collecting those sources. And if you don't have a quality documentation and a chance to quickly connect those, it's all about time. And on the business language, it's like time is money. And of course, some of you would come to us and say, hey, we're all fine. Maybe this is what you're thinking. But anyway, let's see in our voting. And the configuration of events processing is taking a lot of time. Yes, it is a big problem. And again, we come back to our colleagues. They don't have a lot of time on the pilot, but they want to find some kind of non-conventional sources. So what is our proposal? What to do with it? Basically, it's a native introducing of sources. You have like 3 steps where you basically need to choose a source name to indicate the point of entry type. We're not trying to position ourselves like with vendors and manufacturers in terms of new sources, but we're working with standard data. They are usually sent to us. We specify like a point of entry. Then we do some templates. It's great when you do the affiliate structure, when you need to add new sources, you can do this kind of new templates. And also we indicate the point of entry or certain like aspects for data collection. So if you have any database where you're collecting, for example, SQL, you can do the proactive collection and send your inquiries right there. This is also supporting, and this depends on the point of entry. The second thing is about the organizing events. We've came up with a conveyor of events processing. Basically, you have like a point of entry where you would begin, and this will be endpoint agents right here. This could also be the logstash as a type of the point of entry. The idea is that we normalize the stream and we transform it in any way good for us. So outgoing, we can have like several storage systems, information system, or system to send this data outside. But the main idea that the control and processing is very, very visual. And an engineer has an idea of how these events are being built, and those analysts too, if normalization does not go quite right and you are missing like a certain field, you can go to a respective element and you can see how it is being processed. Well, next, we have already added into this addition to the system, it's a capability of working with different metrics. At each of those stages, you can trace back if events were not coming in or coming in with some mistakes, so it makes it more visual. We can see that the DNS normalizers blocks are not coming in. We can see what were predecessors of those events in the total pipeline, and you can also see at what time logs stopped coming. You can see that they are coming to the filter, not to the normalizer though, so there is a problem there. And so this kind of visibility was the goal of our development, and we are trying to make it better. You can upload this information to different dashboards, to some external systems. There is a correlation for the lack of events. If at some point data is not coming into your system, you can get an alert and you can keep working with it on the level of like a full kind of scale incident. Question number 2 on your screens: what challenges you're facing when developing content? Content. It's a pain of our customers. Whenever we do pilots and do testings, there are some kind of real polar opposite stance. On one hand, everybody wants like give it me all and give it me now. They want some level of expertise. But on the other hand, teams, more like senior teams, they are planning to develop this content on their own. And they are more focused on building pipelines and tools, and they're waiting for the ready-to-cook kind of functions to be able to run their goals. And speaking of experience, I can give you like 4 points. Let's vote for one of the options, guys, and let me do it. Number 1, lack of expertise. Number 2, lack of flexibility. 3, lack of current functionality. And number 4, we don't do content. You're the happy ones if you don't do it. Number 2, not enough expertise. Yeah, I would say both of those are the main things whenever you're working with the content. And we share this point of view that the teams may not be involved in it at all. If you do not want to be a part of it, you don't have time. And we, as a vendor, are expecting sometimes like a ready solution which you can deploy as fast as possible. And we've tried to do this. And this is how we got the ready content, and we have 300 rules of correlation. Basically, this number is growing progressively, and we are here. We've been here less than a year, and the number of rules is only growing. Mostly, these rules are about different sources and attack vectors. Basically, it's like a packet. You can load it into your installation. It's convenient to spread it in different affiliates and select on the general pipeline you've already seen those correlation rules which have to be stream processed. Like in a different SIEM, the logic works differently. While in different SIEMs, you're probably connecting the whole stream which goes to the correlation rules. Now you can pinpoint and you can choose what kind of sources you're working with and what kind of vectors you want to focus on in terms of correlation, coverage. Why do you need that? System is not overloaded, and also another plus, another advantage, you can control it, and you can understand what rules are used for a particular source. Number two is working with expertise. That is like many lack of thereof in many teams. We attempted to build a tool which is working with the catbot rules as a code. I think it's a good solution when you have like already templates. When you have suggestions, you have like a version guide when you can work on different correlation rules. And also, you can check like current versions for the teams and being able to make a like one step back if correlation rules are not working properly. And also testing. So into this code, you can load example of an event and see how under this rule it's going to work. It's working right on the interface, and it's I think it's going to help many teams to go into this field. And with our us as a vendor and documentation in the interface also, out of the box, it will be easier to go to this path of building expertise elements. I mean, the normalization and correlation rules. But we are making one step further here, and we are building a tool for fine-tuning and testing. For example, you need to write a normalization tool. You don't want to do it on the production. You have sandboxes which enable you to see how this event will be parsed and to see its function in this sort of kind of playground. So we put an event, we put in a certain scope of function, which is also written in documentation, and we check the outcome. If it's fine, we can transfer it into this pipeline you will be working with. And this is how we build and test our platform. And also, if teams want really to do like a good job and dive deep into development, we've done a plugin for Visual Studio Pod. It's quite a good development environment, and I think many teams will enjoy working with it or continue working with it in the well-known interface. There are some ready-made templates and different versions. You can test rules in another tool. We think it's also going to be good. And there was a demand for it, is the ability to trace the speed of correlation rules. That is when you begin to load this conveyor with a lot of rules. If those rules are badly structured, there is a risk that the system will not be stable. We're trying to avoid it, so after this each correlation rule, we can see how it's being implemented, and moreover, we can see how much time it takes. I think it's a great functionality which were in demand and which was implemented in this kind of like a neat sort of tool. Question number three: what challenges you're facing when working with the event model? I think my outcome will be somewhat different, because if you've been operating SIEM or you're trying to, many have a question of how can you do it differently, because usually a vendor is represented as their own event model, and it's a benchmark one. But when we speak to our clients and say, hey, how can you do this? Then usually by the end of the testing of the pilot, you have like a sensation, a feeling that there is a gap, a difference between those approaches. And then we build this statement. The current event model is not enough. So we may be lacking some content, or sometimes it's excessive. When a vendor has taken care and they've added like too many fields which are not actually used, and this data is sort of like a dead and you don't know what to do with it. So this could mislead you. So right here we're trying to work on this task, and let's see the result of your poll. So this data is not enough. Okay, not enough. This could be a problem. So this is the solution that we propose. We propose to use many events in the system. Let's begin with something which is not very obvious. We have a universal event model. It's about 160 fields with some of the service fields. And you can use it on the start, I mean, when you're just planning to deploy your solution and you don't want to spend too much time in fine-tuning this model, like a normalization, correlation rules, they are already working with a universal model and they can be used intuitively. But if we're speaking about the data collection, for example, from the IT systems, some kind of CRM, if we do not need this many like fields, we can build our own model from scratch. It also have like maybe 10 fields, and we can also add our own data. Data we expect. It's good for an analyst when we are working with a good structured data. This kind of models can be plenty. For each event repository and a goal, you can build your own model. It could be common for several sources, so you have some flexibility. Why it is not like very obvious? Because when you begin to do some testing, only when you begin to show and tell, people say, "Look, wow, you can do that." Usually, they do not have many questions that you can have any alternative here. Okay, let's move on. A final question. What challenges you're facing when scaling up the system? Or potentially, you try to imagine what difficulties you may be facing. I would say it's not an easy question because I've been doing the pilot testing, the primary testing, and usually this whole scaling up situation is not obvious. If you have any problems in the future, to be after implementation, and after the clients will try to write the expertise and use their own database and sources, and then teams have a question. When we gather together and we communicate like why these challenges, are happening. So we came out with some key statements. Number one, scaling up is resource intensive. It could be the function of architecture. You cannot, for example, do forecasts. And so the team of our client, they cannot quickly inquire resources because like the bigger your company is, the more red tape you have. You are asking the access from the IT and different teams and engineers. It's all very, very time consuming. So it's difficult to add resources, and what we've been saying, there is a number of problems. So we have eventually a very slow SIEM. It's a problem for an analyst who will have to work with the data, and when scaling up, you can really, really feel it, and the teams may be complaining. So, and also difficult to administrate. It's about the end users and those admins who will be monitoring resources and monitoring their condition. If you will be having a quick scaling up, you need to understand where you run out of time, how you can add more time, and what kind of tools you can use for that. They are not always usually, what's happening? The guys are coming. We have a smartest engineer on the side of our clients, and they know exactly how it works inside and the current CM and what have you. We think it is not cool because CM again is about a team effort. We have analysts and engineers and admins, and I want to build some great tools which will be able enable them to work comfortably. Okay. I can see the votes. It's hard to change architecture and add resources. It's a top result. Yes, it's a regular problem and task. And how do we want to solve it? How we went through these pains and learn how to do this? Actually, we do have a number of tools. Number one is a native adding resources. For example, like in a conveyor, when we first began when adding sources. While working with the system, you can also work with the different correctors at event repositories. You don't need to go to your back and to add resources. You do have a pool of data you've been working with, and you can, pull in whatever resources you need for different systems. All of this is done out of the interface and directly. And also, you can build rotation. In the new version of the system, you can get notifications if, for example, you have like one of the disks overflowing, like at 20-30%. And also, we have a different monitoring, analyzing the system of our resources, and we have more visibility. The second take is managing one unified system. It was about our base, database, but now it's also very proactive and there is a request. You can work with different resources from the same interface. It's even surprising that SIEM systems have been around for like 20 years, but still people ask, like, it's not always can be native and convenient. But here we've tried to use this common logic and concepts and being able to work with different elements, both of the storage and data collection, and sources in this resources insert. Those are separate entities where you can see how it changes, what and when and why has been changed, and the current status. It enables us to trace the metric system. We can work with different entities of the system. And when we say about the conveyors, it's a matrix of events and collection and database and you can do it for each element. And so basically, what we can do is we can do visualization, we can do with the current workloads, with peak loads, which are happening when we use SIEM. And also you can present this information to the dashboards and to different systems of visualization, widgets and other elements. Well, friends, I think this is it. This was our short experience, yet very, very interesting. We haven't been long for the market. It's 1 year. I would say 1 year. It's the very beginning, and I think I'm so happy to feel this dynamics. I've been communicating with the CMs in our company, and each new challenge is great work that you want to do, and great kind of problem that you want to solve. And many problems are being solved thanks to you, thanks to this kind of a quick pulse, because eventually, people do products. And thank you for helping us to become better.